Let's Play It, a short story by me, Ouijafreak. Let's play it, Annie said as she sat cross-legged. Her newfound friend, Josh, sat puzzled looking as he cradled the tattered box they had found in the attic. Annie's parents had been away since yesterday, somewhere in Ireland, she had told Josh. She'd not really been listening. As soon as she'd overheard her parents say they were going on a break to get away from things, her mind rushed with the freedom she would have. Annie and Josh were odd. They were the outcasts in school. Both skinny and pale, they met in person yesterday while walking home. Annie had been a few hundred metres in front of Josh when a group of girls started yelling unintelligible insults at her from across the road. Annie stopped and waited until they lost their flow and ran on. She never yelled back at the group of girls. Although she was only 15, she knew that words were harmless and not to take them too personally. Bullies like the girls would have moved on to someone else that they have deemed weaker, and they would start on them just the same. After the girls ran off, the street was quiet. "Hey!" A voice broke the silence. "Are you okay?" Annie stopped and turned to see the skinny, pale face of a boy she had seen around school. "No bruises, I'll live." "I'm Josh." "I'm Annie." Josh's pale face flushed pink under his floppy black fringe. Annie felt sorry for him. Always alone. She suspected this was the first he had spoken to anyone all day. "Hey," Annie said, "would you mind walking me home, just in case those girls come back?" "Sure." She smiled to herself. This was a good deed she had done. The boy seemed lonely, and on the plus side, he was kinda cute. Annie flushed a little pink herself. They took their time getting home that day. The streets were calm and the air was cool. Taking the long way through the park and talking about each other, it was amazing that they had so much in common. Annie, like Josh, had very little friends she called best. She and Josh had felt a connection. When he had left her at the gate, it had started to thunder. "Hey Josh, since it's the weekend, would you like to come round tomorrow night?" "Sure. I'll see you then." Annie beamed. Annie was feeling strange. She felt something warm and kind was inside her heart. She'd overheard her mother and father arguing about leaving her to go to Ireland tonight. She was used to them going on spur-of-the-moment trips. Probably another dirty weekend, she thought. Good. Her and Josh could have the house to themselves. "I'm not sure about playing it, Annie. I've heard bad things," Josh said. "Okay, whatever. I just thought if there was one person I could trust playing this with me, then that would be you." Annie was trying to guilt-trip him. She could see that he was more awkward than usual. Josh looked at the floor for a moment. Then his gaze came back to hers. His right side of his mouth curled up into a smile. "I'll do it then." She slipped off the dark box surrounding the hard cardboard game. It smelled of what Annie could only describe as age. She sat the empty box that had been discoloured with foxing on her bed. Sat on the floor across from each other, they looked at the alphabet that stared back at them. "Isn't there supposed to be a pointer thingy? A kind of heart-shaped thing with a hole in it?" Josh quizzed. She lifted the back of the box off the bed and looked at it. On the back was a picture of a happy couple sitting across from each other. Victorian, she guessed, from the clothes they were wearing. They sat across from each other, on chairs with a table in between them. On the table was the game. And on the game sat what looked like a small wooden heart. The hands of the couple rested upon the small heart. "Look!" Josh pointed at the box Annie was holding. "There it is. I saw it in the attic. I know where it was sitting." They stood up together and headed toward the attic door. It was late. Outside the wind howled and rain scattered against the window. It was a small house, separate from the rest of the street, at the top end of a dead end. It had been built last as an afterthought. Commissioned at the last minute because the contractors were under budget and oversupplied, the house faced the road head on, and on a clear day, one could see the full street going about their business from the top hall window. But tonight Annie could not see the end of her parents' front garden. After pulling themselves up into the attic through a small hatch door that took them from the top hall, Annie flipped the switch above her head. The strip light flickered into life, and the two teenagers moved into the shadowy trove. "Oh, that's it," Josh pointed to the end of the attic. "Great." The pointer was at the far end, a place her father hadn't finished flooring. They stepped lightly across the wood and avoided the reams of insulation that separated them from the thin layer of the ceiling above Annie's bedroom. "I will go ahead, you wait here. I'm lighter than you, then if I slip, it's not your fault, Josh." Josh nodded and stood holding a support beam. Annie slowly walked along the narrow wood on the floor. She passed some boxes full of old family pictures until she reached the edge of the attic. The heart was sitting inverted on the bookshelf. "Got it." She waved the pointer triumphantly. Heading back steadier than before, she grabbed Josh's hand. "Oh, I made it." They headed back throughout the attic as the strip light gave another flicker. "Look," Josh pointed at a box of candles sitting on a crate near the entrance. "Just in case." "You're very observant tonight," Annie smiled. She grabbed the candles and flicked the light off as they descended through the opening in the ceiling and back into the hall. They walked a short distance to her room in silence. Both sat down next to each other, with the game in front of them. Annie sat the heart on the game and they glanced at each other. She was under no illusions as to how this game was going to play. She had heard of using a glass and letters written on paper squares before, and when telling her parents about the game, her mother had called the game a Ouija, and explained that she and Annie's father used to play it years ago. Her father had explained that it was used to communicate with the dead, an explanation he had given in a Transylvanian accent. Annie had her reservations about the game. Half of her wanted to believe, another half scoffed at the idea that a cardboard and wooden toy aged 8 and up could really open some mystical portal to the great beyond, but she was willing to find out. They placed their hands on the heart and patiently waited. Annie asked, "Is there anyone here?" And the pointer sat motionless. "What a crock," Josh scoffed as he took his hands off. Annie sighed. "Josh, stop it. We need to be serious and concentrate. Don't give up so easily." "Oh, okay, boss." He placed his hands back on the heart, and they both waited. "Is there anybody here?" The sound of their breathing filled the room, and after about 10 minutes, Annie's hands felt weird, like they were pulsing. A strange pulling sensation followed, and the heart began to move. "Oh, stop moving it, Annie." "I'm seriously not. Can you feel that too?" The pointer was sliding slowly in circles around the board. "Josh, can you feel that?" I can. It feels weird. Kinda like a magnet pulling at my hands." They both looked at each other and smiled. The motion beneath their fingertips was growing, faster and faster, and Annie's hands had grown cold. In her mind, she could swear that someone was blowing on them. The motion began to slow. Above the alphabet were the words yes and no, and then at the bottom of the game was the word goodbye, written in bold capital letters. The heart stopped, then moved again. It was spelling. A N N I E. Annie? The heart began to move slowly around the game. Josh looked at Annie, his eyes wide. "Holy shit!" Annie said nothing, her eyes fixed on the board as the wooden heart moved in a clockwise circle around the board. You better answer it. Annie looked up at Josh, his eyes filled with fear. Yes, Annie mustered. She'd almost forgotten what she was doing. H. I. Hi. Who are you? W. E. A. R. E. Y. O. U. We are you? No, who are you? Y. O. U. R. You're? Who? The wooden heart began circling even faster. Annie, Josh said. Who are you? Annie. P. A. R. E. N. T. S. Parents? No, it can't be. Annie, stop it. Annie raised her head from looking at the board and looked at Josh's pale face. His hands were not on the wooden heart anymore, yet the pointer was still moving clockwise. Annie, you need to stop this right now. But it was too late. His words meant nothing. Were her parents dead? Frantically searched for questions in her head. What could she ask? What happened? M. U. R. D. E. R. Josh grabbed the game from her and tossed the board on the bed. Annie had a weird feeling of emptiness and dread in the pit of her stomach. She frantically jumped and reached for the Ouija, but Josh grabbed it back. Annie, you can't listen to that thing. It's not telling you the truth. Oh, how would you know? I have to call them. Annie raced downstairs through the living area to the kitchen as the lights flickered with the storm outside. She looked on the fridge for emergency contacts and seen her father's mobile phone number. She tore the sheet from the white door and ran past Josh, who was standing watching her. She got to the hallway and picked up the landline. But the line was dead. Annie. Fucking storm. Annie threw open the front door and the rain lashed in, stinging her face and hands. Annie, stop! It's wild out there, Josh yelled through the screeching of the wind. I have to go find a neighbour whose phone is working. Annie, no! Josh grabbed Annie's arm, but she pulled away. Her long wet hair stuck to her face as she fought her way through the burning hail. Something was wrong. She knew it. Her face felt like it was smouldering. Her arms felt like they were on fire. She had to close her eyes to stop them stinging. She could hear blood-curdling screams of people in agony. Were they caught in this storm too? She opened her eyes to see hundreds of bodies crawling towards her through the fire falling from the sky, their flesh sliding from their bones. Her body felt like it was being skewered by the burning pokers from above. She could feel and smell flesh melting. A feeling of tranquility washed over her. Annie was walking home from school. She felt like she was walking through treacle. Everything was in slow motion. Her thoughts were fogged. She looked around and saw the bullies from yesterday shouting their insults. But something was different. She could hear them. Look out! One girl screamed. He's behind you! Yelled another. Annie turned around to see Josh, pointing a gun right at her. Everything went grey, and the outline of Josh came back into view. The room was dark, and he had lit the candles. Annie. Josh, what happened? Did I pass out? I had a weird dream. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. What are you talking about? I have something to tell you, Annie. Please, Josh, you're scaring me. Josh sat on Annie's bed next to her. I've liked you for years. I spoke to you once, and you ignored me. I just went about my business, but something was inside me, wanting you. I followed you home every day for a year. You never noticed me. Then one day, I saw you talking to some guy after school. I followed you too, and you took him home. Annie remembered. It was her cousin. He had forgotten his key and he was locked out until her aunt and uncle come home, so she invited him back for dinner. I just saw red. I wanted you. You never noticed me. I decided that if you didn't notice me, I would make you. And if I couldn't have you, no one would. Annie dared not say it was her cousin. She just listened. None of this was making any sense. I took the gun from my father's collection of military memorabilia. He had restored it and made sure it was working before hiding it in his drawer. But I knew it was there, loaded. I followed you all day. The school was crowded, even during lunch because of the October weather. And at the end of the day I saw you, I followed you. It was weird. Like I wasn't in control. Like I was inside my head looking out. Impossible to stop myself. Annie couldn't take all this in. But Josh continued. You just looked round, and it pulled the trigger. I didn't even know what to do. Girls across the street were yelling and screaming, so I turned the gun on myself. And then the most remarkable thing happened. What happened? Nothing, Josh replied. You were standing in front of me, so I asked if you were okay. You smiled and spoke to me. But then I noticed the bodies. Yours and mine. Are you saying I'm fucking dead and you killed me? Annie asked. The light. What light? The light that surrounded you as you walked home scared away the darkness that was following me. I was safe with you. I went home. My parents couldn't see me. I could bang doors and lift objects, but it's like they were deaf or blind. They just didn't know what I was doing. Why didn't you just leave me alone after you killed me? Why would I want to see you again? Annie pleaded. I was going to, but the next day the darkness had found me again. It was consuming. Outside, all I could see were the corpses of the damned, I assume, coming for my soul. So I came to yours. Oh God, am I damned too? What have you done to us? No, Annie. The light. You have a pure soul. Mine was tainted. The light from your soul surrounds this house and protects us both from the hell outside. Why didn't it follow me outside and protect me? Annie asked. I think it wants you to stay in here, where you're comfortable until the godlight finds you. The godlight? Heaven, I assume. Josh, what will happen to you when heaven finds me? Hell will replace this house on the astral plane, just like it did the rest of the town? I'm sorry, Annie. I brought you to hell with me. Annie looked at the board game on the bed. My parents? Josh stopped her. Annie, we are already in hell. What could that thing possibly be contacting? We just have to sit tight and wait. Annie thought Josh was right. But wait, for how long? Somewhere in Ireland, a distraught couple sat in a hotel room. Their daughter had been murdered by an obsessed teen. That was all they knew. They had been called just after school had finished by the media asking for statements. They had no idea what was going on, The police arrived and asked them to come with them. There had been a shooting at the local school. The parents from the town were all there, hoping it wasn't their child. The couple were taken into an ambulance and asked to identify a body. The mother burst into tears at the sight of a faceless girl. "Please don't be Annie," she begged. She grabbed her husband tight. It was their beloved only daughter. She had recognised the clothes, the bracelets, and the hair that was wet and matted to her face with blood. Advised by the police that the couple should go into hiding for a few days to avoid the media attention, they were assured that the body would be kept for the weekend in a local mortuary. The couple went home and packed. "Ireland is just across the water," the father said. "How can we leave her?" the mother asked. We have to leave her. We will sort everything out when we get back. You heard the police. We have to go away for a while." After an argument about Ireland and whether or not they could leave their daughter, the couple left. Checking into a hotel, they sat in silence. The next night, the shooting had made the news. A boy who cannot be named for legal reasons has been involved in the death of a female student. The couple sat and looked blankly at the TV. The room was icy cold. Mother stood up and started tearing the daily newspaper to shreds. She knew what she was going to do. Father just watched as she arranged the letters around the hotel room table. "Get me a glass," she said. Father did not argue and lifted the water glass from the bedside cabinet. They both sat down at the table and placed their hands on the upturned glass. Mother had torn the alphabet from the paper. "Honey, I can't do this," Father said. "Fine. I shall do it alone," Mother replied. Father removed his hands from the glass and watched Mother as she asked, "Annie?" The glass began to circle clockwise, slowly at first. Y, E, S. "Yes." "Hi," Mother said through her tears. H, I, W, H, O, A, R, E, Y, O, U. "We are you," Father interrupted Mother. "Stop it, that's not our daughter." The circle was growing faster. "No. H, O, A, R, E, Y, O, U. "No, who are you?" "You're W, H, O." The glass was frantically skidding all around the table. "Who are you?" "Parents." NOITCANTBE. No, it can't be. Mother was watching. Her tears were blinding her. She wanted to believe this was a little girl, that this was Annie. W, H, A, T, H, A, P, P, E, N, E, D. Mother found her voice and replied to the table. "Murder, sweetheart. You were murdered." The glass came to a halt on the table, and the couple looked at each other. Their girl was dead. This they knew for sure. Whoever was talking to them through the torn paper they would never know. Mother knew she had been foolish, but she knew that many years ago her father had played this game with great results. And they knew their daughter was safe. Hi guys, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that story, or even if you would like to send me some stories of your own for me to read out in the channel, you can hit me up on Facebook, username Ouijafreak, have a fan page there and you'll be able to DM me. And hopefully this will be a new direction for the channel. I enjoy listening to spooky stories myself, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. Again, thanks for listening. Take care.